There's a substantial reward for the one who finishes this mini. You may use any means necessary, but no disintegrations. As you wish. Almost forgot. Free giveaway going on once I hit 500 subs. Go to the link below in the description. Alright, so I reached out to a guy in the UK about a year ago, I guess, whenever this model was first released, and I asked him if he could go ahead and put some LEDs into this thing just to make it stand out a little bit more. Honestly, I could have just painted some OSL type stuff on here, but there's something about having actual LEDs in there. I don't know that anybody can really deny that it adds a nice little touch. In order to hide the cables that had to run up into the model, I decided to make a nice little cork rock base, and then I liberally covered that with Vallejo earth texture. This stuff is really an amazing product if you like that sandy, gritty, dirty texture on your base. After that, I grabbed my airbrush and put down a black base coat primer, and then gave it a zenithal highlight from the top. This is a Raphael 8404, the tool of a painter. Not as random or clumsy as an airbrush. A tool for a more civilized age. Using that brush, I went ahead and got his base coat for the clothes ready. This specific color is a mixture of coal black, bold titanium white, and blue. I really just get it all on the palette, mix it up, play with it, figure out where that right hue is, and then go with that. After that, I switched over to my camo green. This is going to be used on the chest armor, on his helmet, and also on the cloak going off his back. No shiny chrome armor for this Mandalorian. For the highlights on top of that green, I used bright green, and I used some water to thin that down into much more of a glaze, so that I could get that color right where I wanted it, and still not obscure all the armor color underneath it that I'm building on top of. For the visor, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. This is just going to be coal black. It's really too small for me to get in there and do a bunch of intricate blends and fades on. From there, I went over to my reds, and I grabbed my burnt red. It's a really nice red, really dark, and excellent for laying down base coats. That color is going to go on his visor, a little bit on the backpack, and up on the shoulder pauldrons. Going back to the armor, I'm going to push that color even harder. I want this to be the focus. I want the helmet and the chest to kind of draw your eye in. So I'm really going to push these up and make them pretty bright. I'm using blue, yellow, and I've actually got a little bit of light umber that I mixed into the yellow to kind of bring that vibrancy down. It's turning up much more of a muted mustard look than a bright yellow. I am taking a little bit of liberties with the colors on this model. I'm really not getting movie specific on this. I'll keep it close, and obviously it's got to be identifiable, but there's certain things I'm going to take some liberties with. At this point, we'll turn the model back around, and we'll start punching in some of the detail on this armor. Mainly the gouges, the scrapes, everywhere that it's got a little bit of texture from all this damage he's taken over the years. I'm going to use some black to really just emphasize that and bring that out. In order to get a little closer to yellow, I'm going to start building up the armor color on the shoulder pauldrons. Right now we're going with orange. Alright guys, I can hear you from here. Why don't you just paint it yellow? I could, but it's going to make it much more interesting to build it up through these various steps. It's going to give it a lot more depth. For all my highlights on the cloth, I just took the original cloth color that I mixed up on my palette earlier, tinted it with a little bit more white, and used that. Going back to the visor, you can see this is a pretty small surface area. And in order to get some transition in here, I'm just going to wind up stippling orange in. It's just going to be little dots all coming together to make certain areas of that visor just a little bit brighter. Alright, finally, actual yellow, where we needed to get yellow. And then later on I'm just going to go and cover it up with Nuln Oil, but we are getting there. It is progress. As I'm putting this Nuln Oil on, I'm just going to make sure I'm not getting really big tide pools. Stuff that's going to leave nasty spots and rings later on. The next thing I wanted to do was work on his shoulder, and I wanted to put the actual freehand on there, but I'll tell you what, this thing is tiny. It was a bit tough to get in there and get the detail in, but in the end I think it really kind of worked out. And then while I'm still playing in the reds, I'm going to go back, mix up some reds and some oranges to get some midtones, and just try and smooth out a little bit of these arms. This piece, this I almost forgot. I missed his belt completely before this. I should have done this before the null oil step. It would have given it that shading, but now I'm just going to have to go in and paint that all in. Not a huge loss, but it is a step that would have been much more efficient and effective. Time to remove my high-tech masking solution. Got to pull this sticky tack off here. Give me a sec. Then we're going to come over to his blaster and put down some coal black. That's going to be the base color. I'll be tinting that with white again to get my grays, and then all the way up to white for a highlight. After that, it's a little more touch-up, getting some of these highlights a little bit brighter, and generally just cleaning up the model for final presentation. Now that I'm happy with where that is, I'm going to move over to the base. I'm going to grab light umber, put that down, tint it with white again. That really sounds like a broken record, doesn't it? Tint it with white, tint it with white. And then for the rocks, I'm going to grab this same color that I used up on his clothes, come in, put that in, and then stipple in some white variations and get into the recesses with a darker variation. All this is going to be covered up a little bit by the null oil I put on here, but it's nice to have those inbuilt highlights prior. After I got done with the base, I was looking at it and I felt like it was missing something. So I decided to come back in and do some hashing, some texturing onto the clothes and onto the cape. Never be scared to look at your model and admit you missed something or it doesn't look right. It's all about those details and those touch-ups. And with that, I'm pretty happy. So let's go ahead and grab our coal black and start doing our base rim. I don't know how it is for you, but for myself, the base rim is pretty much the mark, the end of the model. And with that being done, one more model is removed from my shelf of shame. Like I said, it took me about a year to get this guy done. It really shouldn't have. I love Boba Fett stuff. He's a fun character. But honestly, projects have a way of piling up, and some models just tend to get lost in that shuffle. Almost forgot. Free giveaway going on once I hit 500 subs. If you like free stuff, take a look at the card above or go to the link below in the description. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I really do appreciate you letting me be part of your day. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.